The twin moons of Zephyria cast an eerie glow over the alien landscape as Lyra stood on the balcony of her modest dwelling. Her large, iridescent eyes scanned the horizon, a mixture of hope and trepidation swirling within them. It had been 3 cycles since her mate, Kraz, had fallen in the great interstellar war, leaving her to raise their young daughter, Nira, alone. Lyra's slender frame shivered slightly in the cool night air, her pale blue skin seeming to shimmer under the moonlight. She absently stroked one of her 4 arms along the railing, lost in thought. The conflict that had taken Kraz from her had ended, but the scars it left behind were still fresh. Zephyria, once a peaceful outpost, now struggled to rebuild and find its place in a changed galaxy. A sudden flash in the sky caught Lyra's attention. At first, she thought it might be a shooting star, a rare but beautiful sight on her world. But as the light grew brighter and larger, she realized with a start that it was a ship, and it was falling fast. Lyra's heart raced as she watched the vessel plummet towards the surface, leaving a trail of smoke and debris in its wake. It disappeared behind the rolling hills that surrounded her home, the sound of impact reaching her moments later. Without hesitation, she sprang into action. "Nira," she called out, her melodic voice tinged with urgency. "Stay inside and lock the door. I'll be back soon." Her daughter, a small version of herself with curious eyes and a mop of tentacle-like appendages atop her head, nodded solemnly. "Be careful, Mama," she whispered. Lyra grabbed a medical kit and a portable translator before racing out into the night. Her 4 legs carried her swiftly across the terrain, bounding over obstacles with a grace that belied her speed. As she approached the crash site, the acrid smell of burning metal filled the air. The ship was unlike anything Lyra had seen before. Its sleek design spoke of advanced technology, but it was clearly not of Zephyrian origin. Smoke billowed from several breaches in the hull, and sparks danced across its surface. Cautiously, Lyra approached the wreckage. "Hello," she called out, her translator converting her words into a variety of galactic languages. "Is anyone alive in there?" A groan answered her, followed by the sound of metal scraping against metal. Lyra's eyes widened as a figure emerged from the ship, a human. She had heard of their kind, but had never seen one in person. The human was tall, with 2 arms and 2 legs, and skin that seemed unnaturally pale in the moonlight. The human stumbled, clearly injured, and Lyra rushed forward to catch them before they fell. "Easy," she said softly, supporting their weight with her multiple limbs. "I'm here to help." The human looked up at her, their eyes clouded with pain and confusion. Where am I?" they asked, their voice hoarse. "You're on Zephyria," Lyra answered, her translator working to convey her words. "My name is Lyra. Can you tell me yours?" "Alex," the human managed to say before wincing in pain. "Captain Alex Chen of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon." Lyra's mind raced. An Earth vessel, here? The implications were staggering. Earth was a distant world, one that had largely kept to itself since the end of the war. What was one of their ships doing so far from home? "You're injured, Alex," Lyra said, pushing her questions aside for the moment. "We need to get you somewhere safe. Can you walk?" Alex nodded weakly, and with Lyra's support, they began to make their way back to her home. As they walked, Lyra couldn't help but notice the strange looks they received from the few Zephyrians who were out at this late hour. A human on their world was unprecedented, and she knew it wouldn't be long before word spread. By the time they reached Lyra's dwelling, Alex was barely conscious. Nira opened the door, her eyes wide with wonder at the sight of the strange being her mother was supporting. "Nira, help me get them to the guest chamber," Lyra instructed, and together they managed to guide Alex to a soft resting place. As Lyra began to treat Alex's injuries using her limited knowledge of human physiology, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The arrival of this human on her world, in her life, felt like more than just chance. It felt like destiny. Outside, the twin moons of Zephyria continued their eternal dance across the sky, oblivious to the momentous event that had just occurred. In a small dwelling on a distant world, two species separated by vast gulfs of space and culture were about to embark on a journey that would challenge everything they thought they knew about each other and themselves. Lyra looked down at the unconscious form of Alex, her mind swirling with questions and possibilities. Whatever the future held, she knew that her life, and that of her daughter, would never be the same again. The unexpected arrival of this human was just the beginning of a story that would ripple across the stars. The first rays of Zephyria's twin suns crept through the window, casting a warm glow over Alex's face. Lyra, who had kept a vigilant watch through the night, noticed the human's eyelids flutter. She leaned forward, her 4 hands clasped together in anticipation. "Welcome back," Lyra said softly as Alex's eyes opened fully. "How are you feeling?" Alex blinked, taking in the alien surroundings with a mixture of confusion and wonder. "I've been better," they admitted, wincing slightly as they tried to sit up. "But thanks to you, I'm alive. I owe you my gratitude, Lyra." Lyra helped Alex into a sitting position, marveling at how quickly the human seemed to be recovering. "You're welcome, but please don't push yourself too hard. Your injuries were severe." As if on cue, Nira peeked around the corner of the doorway, her large eyes filled with curiosity. Alex noticed her and smiled warmly, causing the young Zephyrian to duck back out of sight with a giggle. "That's my daughter, Nora," Lyra explained. "She's never seen a human before. None of us have, actually. Your arrival has caused quite a stir in our community." Alex's expression grew serious. "I'm sorry for any trouble I've caused. Our mission was supposed to be one of peaceful exploration, but something went wrong with our ship's systems. I need to contact my crew, let them know I'm alive." Lyra nodded, her tentacle-like hair swaying with the movement. "We'll do what we can to help. But first, you need to regain your strength. Are you hungry? I'm not sure what humans eat, but I can try to find something suitable." As Lyra bustled about, preparing a meal from her limited stores, Alex took the opportunity to study their surroundings more closely. The architecture was unlike anything they had seen before, with organic curves and bioluminescent surfaces that seemed to pulse with life. Despite the alien nature of it all, there was a warmth and comfort to the space that put Alex at ease. Nora, emboldened by Alex's friendly demeanor, gradually edged her way into the room. "Hello," she said shyly, her translator converting her melodic Zephyrian speech into English. "Are you really from Earth?" Alex smiled, charmed by the child's curiosity. "I am indeed. Have you heard stories about Earth?" Nara nodded enthusiastically. "Oh yes. We learned about it in our studies. Is it true that you have only one sun and one moon? And that your oceans are blue instead of purple?" As Alex began to describe Earth to the wide-eyed Zephyrian child, Lyra returned with a tray of various foods. She couldn't help but smile at the scene before her. Her daughter, typically so reserved around strangers, was chatting animatedly with the human visitor. "I hope you can find something edible here," Lyra said, setting down the tray. "I've included some of our most neutral foods, as well as water from our purest springs." Alex examined the offerings with interest, cautiously sampling each item. To Lyra's relief, the humans seemed to find most of the food palatable, if a bit strange in texture and flavor. As they ate, Lyra broached the subject that had been weighing on her mind. "Alex, I must ask, what brought you to this part of the galaxy? Earth has kept to itself since the war ended. Many of us thought your people had lost interest in interstellar travel altogether." Alex's expression turned somber. "The war changed a lot for us, as I'm sure it did for you. But there were those of us who believed that isolation wasn't the answer. We wanted to reach out, to build bridges between species. Our mission was to explore, to learn, and hopefully, to forge new friendships." Lyra felt a surge of hope at these words. "That's a noble goal, but I fear not everyone will see it that way. There are those among my people who still harbor resentment towards off-worlders, especially those associated with the war." As if to underscore Lyra's point, a commotion could be heard outside. Raised voices and the sound of many feet approaching filled the air. Lara moved to the window, her eyes widening at the sight of a crowd gathering in front of her dwelling. "It seems word of your arrival has spread faster than I anticipated," Lara said, her voice tight with concern. "We need to be careful about how we proceed. The wrong move could spark tensions that have been simmering for years." Alex nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I don't want to cause any trouble for you or your people, Lyra. Perhaps it would be best if I tried to leave, to find a way back to my ship." But Lyra shook her head firmly. "You're in no condition to travel, and besides, I gave you my protection when I brought you into my home. We'll face this together." As the sounds outside grew louder, Lyra straightened her posture, all four of her arms moving in a gesture of determination. "Stay here with Nira. I'll go speak to them, try to calm the situation." Before she could leave, Alex caught one of her hands. "Thank you, Lyra, for everything." Lyra smiled, feeling a connection with this human that transcended their differences. "That's what friends do," she said simply, before turning to face the crowd outside. As she stepped out to address her fellow Zephyrians, Lyra knew that the next few moments could change everything, not just for her and Alex, but for the future of human-Zephyrian relations. The bridge between their cultures was fragile, but with understanding and compassion, perhaps it could become the foundation for a new era of peace and cooperation. Lyra stepped out onto the threshold of her dwelling, her four arms raised in a gesture of peace. The crowd before her was a sea of agitated Zephyrians, their tentacle-like hair writhing with emotion. At the forefront stood Vex, the community's elder and de facto leader. "Lyra," Vex's voice boomed, silencing the murmurs of the crowd. "Is it true? You harbor a human within your home." Lyra took a deep breath, her iridescent eyes scanning the faces of her neighbors and friends. "It is true," she admitted, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "A human ship crashed near our settlement last night. The sole survivor was gravely injured. I couldn't leave them to die." A ripple of unease passed through the gathering. Vex's expression hardened, his pale blue skin taking on a darker hue. "You risked the safety of our entire community for one off-worlder. Have you forgotten what their kind did during the war?" Inside, Alex listened intently, the translator working to convey the exchange. Nora huddled close, her young eyes wide with worry. Alex placed a comforting hand on the child's shoulder, feeling a surge of protectiveness. Outside, Lyra stood her ground. "I haven't forgotten, Vex. None of us have. But this human, Alex, they're not a soldier. They're an explorer seeking to build bridges between our peoples." "Pretty words," Vex scoffed. "But words won't undo the destruction their species brought upon us. The human must leave immediately." A chorus of agreement rose from the crowd, but Lyra noticed not everyone joined in. Some, particularly the younger Zephyrians, looked uncertain. "And go where?" Lyra challenged. "Their ship is destroyed. Casting them out would be a death sentence. Is that who we are now? A people so consumed by past hurts that we've lost our compassion." Her words struck a chord with some, but others grew more agitated. Vex took a step forward, his voice low and menacing. "If you won't see reason, Lyra, then perhaps it's time we took matters into our own hands." The tension in the air was palpable. Lyra braced herself, unsure of what would happen next. But before Vex could make another move, a new voice cut through the chaos. "Please hear me out." All eyes turned to see Alex standing in the doorway, leaning heavily against the frame but determined to face the crowd. Noah peeked out from behind them, a small hand clutching Alex's pant leg. "I understand your anger and your fear," Alex began, their voice carrying despite its weakness. "Humanity has made grievous mistakes, and your people have suffered because of them. I can't undo that history, but I'm here now, hoping to write a new chapter." The crowd fell silent, many seeing a human in the flesh for the first time. Alex continued, "I come from a mission of peace and discovery. We believe that only by reaching out, by learning from each other, can we ensure that the tragedies of the past are never repeated? Vex's eyes narrowed. Pretty words indeed, but why should we trust you? Alex met the elder's gaze steadily. Because despite our differences, despite the history between our peoples, Laura chose to save my life. She saw beyond the surface, beyond the past, to the person underneath. That's the kind of wisdom and compassion that can change worlds. A murmur ran through the crowd. Laura felt a glimmer of hope as she saw some of the anger giving way to curiosity and uncertainty. But Vex wasn't swayed. Words and sentiment won't protect us if your people decide to finish what they started in the war. The human leaves, or we'll remove them by force. The crowd tensed, the situation balancing on a knife's edge. Laura moved to stand beside Alex, her forearms spread protectively. If you want them, you'll have to go through me, she declared. Just as it seemed violence was inevitable, a small voice piped up. Wait. Nira called out, stepping forward. The young Zephyrian's voice trembled, but her eyes were filled with determination. Alex taught me about Earth, about how they have only one sun and one moon, and oceans that are blue instead of purple. They're different from us, but that doesn't make them bad. The sincerity in the child's voice gave even Vex pause. Nora continued, Mama always says that understanding beats fear. Can't we try to understand before we judge? A hush fell over the gathering. Laura felt a surge of pride for her daughter's bravery and wisdom. Even Alex looked at the young Zephyrian with newfound respect. Vex's expression softened slightly, but he remained resolute. The concerns of a child, however pure, cannot dictate the safety of our community. The human has until sundown to leave our territory. That is my final word. With that, Vex turned and began to disperse the crowd. As the Zephyrians slowly drifted away, many casting curious or conflicted glances back at Alex, Lyra helped the human back inside. I'm sorry, Lyra said once they were alone. I had hoped for a better outcome. Alex shook their head. You have nothing to apologize for, Lyra. Your bravery and Nora's. It's more than I could have hoped for. Lyra smiled sadly. But it wasn't enough. Vex's ultimatum stands. What will you do? Alex's expression turned thoughtful. I don't know. But I do know this. I came here to build bridges, and I'm not giving up on that mission. There has to be a way to show your people that cooperation is possible, that it's the key to a better future for both our species. As the twin suns of Zephyria climbed higher in the sky, marking the passage of precious time, Lyra, Alex, and Nira huddled together, their minds racing. They had until sundown to change hearts and minds, to find a way to turn suspicion into trust. The fate of not just Alex, but potentially the relationship between their two species, hung in the balance. The clock was ticking, and they needed a plan. Fast. As the day wore on, tension hung heavy in the air of Lyra's dwelling. Alex paced the room, their injuries largely forgotten in the face of the looming deadline. Lyra sat with Nira, her forearms wrapped protectively around her daughter as they watched the human with worried eyes. There has to be a way, Alex muttered, more to themselves than to their hosts. Something we can do to show your people that humans aren't a threat. Lyra's brow furrowed in thought. Perhaps if we could contact your ship, your crew. If more humans came, it might. Alex shook their head. No, that would only escalate things. We need to prove ourselves with what we have here now. Suddenly, Nira perked up, her tentacle-like hair waving with excitement. The harvest, she exclaimed. Lyra and Alex turned to the young Zephyrian, puzzled. What do you mean, sweetheart? Lyra asked gently. Nora's eyes shone with enthusiasm. Remember the story you told me, Mama? About how during the war, when food was scarce, our ancestors discovered a way to make the Kora plants grow faster. Lyra's eyes widened in realization. The bioluminescent resonance technique, she breathed. But Nara, that's just a legend. No one's been able to replicate it since the war. Alex looked between the two, intrigued. What's this technique? Lyra explained. According to our history, Our ancestors found a way to use the natural bioluminescence of our world to accelerate plant growth. It saved our people from starvation during the war, but the knowledge was lost in the chaos that followed. Alex advised it up. That's it. Lyra, what if we could rediscover this technique? It could solve your world's food shortages and prove that humans and Zephyrians can work together for the greater good. Lyra hesitated, but Alex, it's just a legend. And even if it were real, how could we possibly figure it out before sundown? Alex grinned, a spark of determination in their eyes. I may not know much about Zephyrian biology, but I do know a thing or two about bioluminescence and its effects on plant growth. We studied similar phenomena on Earth. With your knowledge of local flora and my scientific background, we might just have a chance. Nora clapped her hands excitedly. We can do it. I know we can. Laura looked between her daughter's hopeful face and Alex's determined one. She took a deep breath, straightening her posture. All right, she said, her voice firm. Let's do this. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Laura gathered samples of the Cora plant and other bioluminescent flora from around their dwelling. Alex, using improvised equipment from their crashed ship and Lyra's household items, set up a makeshift laboratory in the main room. As they worked, Alex explained Earth sciences to Lyra, while she shared Zephyrian botanical knowledge. Nora darted between them, fetching tools and offering encouragement. The air buzzed with a mixture of scientific jargon and hopeful energy. The key, Alex mused as they examined a glowing coral leaf under a jury-rigged microscope, is to find the right frequency of light to stimulate growth without overwhelming the plant's systems. Lyra nodded, her 4 hands busy preparing plant samples. In the old stories, they spoke of a harmony of light that made the plants sing with life. As the twin suns began their descent towards the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of purple and gold, their efforts intensified. Time was running out, and they could hear the murmur of the gathering crowd outside. Just as despair began to creep in, Nora, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. What if we sing to them? Alex and Lyra paused, looking at the child in confusion. Nora continued, her voice gaining confidence. In school, we learned that Zephyrian voices can produce bioluminescent frequencies. What if that's the missing piece? Alex's eyes widened. Of course, vocal bioluminescence. Lyra, is this true? Lyra nodded slowly, realization dawning. Yes, but it's considered more of a cultural quirk than a scientific phenomenon. Could it really be the key? Only one way to find out, Alex said, gesturing to the Cora samples. Lyra took a deep breath and began to sing. Her voice, ethereal and haunting, filled the room. To Alex's amazement, a soft glow began to emanate from Lyra's skin, pulsing in rhythm with her song. As the melody wove through the air, the Cora samples began to respond. Leaves unfurled, stems straightened, and roots reached out with newfound vigor. Alex, Lyra, and Nero watched in awe as the plants grew and flourished before their eyes. It's working, Alex exclaimed, their voice filled with wonder. Lyra, you've done it. Outside, the crowd that had gathered to enforce Vex's ultimatum fell silent, entranced by the haunting melody emanating from the dwelling. As Lyra's song reached its crescendo, a brilliant light burst from within, bathing the entire area in a warm, pulsating glow. The door swung open, and Alex emerged, supporting a visibly exhausted but triumphant Lyra. In their free hand, they held a Cora plant, grown to full maturity in a matter of minutes. Vex pushed his way to the front of the awestruck crowd, his eyes wide with disbelief. How is this possible? Alex stepped forward, offering the plant to the Zephyrian elder. This is the power of collaboration, of combining our knowledge and strengths. Together, we've rediscovered the bioluminescent resonance technique of your ancestors. Lyra, regaining her strength, added, this discovery could end food shortages on our world, Vex, and it was only possible because a human and a Zephyrian worked together as equals. The crowd murmured in amazement, many reaching out to touch the miraculous plant. Vex, his earlier hostility replaced by wonder, took the Cora in his hands. "Perhaps," he said slowly, his voice thick with emotion, "we have been too hasty in our judgment. It seems there is much we can learn from each other." As the twin suns of Zephyria dipped below the horizon, casting their final rays over the gathered crowd, a new light dawned in the hearts of both humans and Zephyrians. The bridge between their cultures, so fragile just hours before, now shone with the promise of a brighter, shared future. Alex, Lyra, and Nera stood together, their unlikely family unit a living symbol of what could be achieved through understanding, compassion, and cooperation. The daring plan had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, not just saving Alex, but potentially changing the course of interstellar relations forever. As night fell on Zephyria, the glow of hope and possibility lingered, promising a new chapter in the story of their two species. In the days that followed the miraculous demonstration of the bioluminescent resonance technique, a palpable shift occurred in the Zephyrian community. The initial fear and suspicion towards Alex gave way to curiosity and cautious optimism. Vex, true to his word, had rescinded the ultimatum, allowing Alex to stay while they worked on refining and scaling up the new agricultural method. Alex, Lyra, and Nera found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Their modest dwelling had become an impromptu laboratory and meeting place, with Zephyrians of all ages coming to witness the miracle of accelerated plant growth and learn about the science behind it. One morning, as Alex tinkered with a makeshift hydroponic system cobbled together from parts salvaged from their crashed ship, Lyra approached with a concerned look on her face. "Alex," she said, her voice low, "I've just received word from the Planetary Defense Network. They've detected an unidentified ship entering our system. It's heading straight for us." Alex's eyes widened. "It must be the Horizon." "My crew, they've found me." Excitement bubbled up inside them, but it was quickly tempered by the realization of what this could mean. "But if they come in weapons hot, thinking I'm in danger?" Lyra nodded grimly. "It could undo everything we've accomplished." Just then, Nera burst into the room, her tentacle-like hair writhing with excitement. "Mama, Alex, come quick. Something's happening in the sky." They rushed outside to find a crowd of Zephyrians gathered, all looking up at the sky. A sleek, silver ship was descending through the atmosphere, its hull gleaming in the light of the twin suns. Vex approached Alex and Lyra, his expression a mixture of concern and resolve. "Your people have come for you," he said to Alex. "What would you have us do?" Alex took a deep breath, their mind racing. This was the moment that would define everything they had worked for. "Let me speak to them," they said, "but I'll need your help, all of you." With determined nods from Lyra and Vex, Alex put their plan into action. As the Horizon touched down on the outskirts of the settlement, Alex organized the Zephyrians into action. Some gathered samples of the accelerated crops, others prepared a welcoming area, and Lyra began teaching a group of volunteers a special welcoming song. As the ship's hatch opened and the crew of the Horizon emerged, weapons at the ready, they were met with an astonishing sight. Instead of a hostile alien force, they saw their captain standing at the head of a diverse group of Zephyrians, all holding glowing plants and smiling in welcome. "Captain Chen," the first officer called out, lowering her weapon in confusion. Are you all right?" Alex grinned, spreading their arms wide. "More than all right, Sarah. I'm proud to introduce you to our new friends and allies, the people of Zephyria." What followed was a flurry of introductions, explanations, and demonstrations. The crew of the Horizon watched in awe as Lyra and her group performed the bioluminescent song, causing nearby plants to grow and flourish before their eyes. As the day wore on, the initial tension gave way to an atmosphere of shared wonder and excitement. Human scientists eagerly compared notes with Zephyrian botanists, while engineers from both species huddled over schematics, discussing ways to improve the resonance technique's efficiency. Alex found a quiet moment amidst the chaos to stand with Lyra and Nera. watching as their two peoples mingled and collaborated. "I can hardly believe it," Lyra said softly, her eyes shining with emotion. "Just days ago, we were on the brink of conflict, and now we're on the brink of a whole new era," Alex finished, smiling warmly at her and Nira. Nira tugged on Alex's sleeve, her young face serious. "Does this mean you'll be leaving with your ship?" she asked, a hint of sadness in her voice. Alex knelt down to meet the young Zephyrian's eyes. "I won't lie, Nara. I do have responsibilities to my crew and my mission. But," they added, seeing the girl's face fall, "I think we can convince them to stick around for a while. After all, we've made some incredible discoveries here, and there's still so much more to learn." Lyra placed a comforting hand on her daughter's shoulder. "And who knows? Perhaps this is just the beginning of many cultural exchanges between our peoples." As if on cue, Vex approached the group, accompanied by the Horizon's first officer. "Captain Chen," Sarah said, her voice filled with barely contained excitement. "We've been discussing the potential of this bioluminescent technology. The applications could be revolutionary, not just for agriculture, but for sustainable energy, medical treatments. The possibilities are endless." As weeks turned into months, the joint human-Zephyrian research outpost flourished. The initial team from the Horizon had been supplemented by additional scientists and diplomats from Earth, all eager to learn from and work alongside their new alien allies. The bioluminescent resonance technique was refined and expanded, leading to unprecedented advancements in agriculture, medicine, and sustainable energy production. Alex, now officially appointed as the human liaison to Zephyria, found themselves at the center of this whirlwind of progress. But amidst the excitement of scientific discovery and cultural exchange, they couldn't ignore the growing connection they felt to Lyra and Nira. One evening, as the three of them sat on the balcony of Lyra's dwelling, watching the twin moons rise, Alex broached the subject that had been weighing on their mind. "Lyra," they began, their voice soft, "I've been thinking a lot about the future, about my place here on Zephyria." Lyra turned to face them, her large, iridescent eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Oh, and what have you concluded?" Alex took a deep breath. "I've realized that my home isn't on Earth anymore. It's here with you and Nira, if you'll have me." Nira, who had been quietly listening, suddenly perked up. "Does this mean you want to be part of our family, Alex?" she asked, hope evident in her voice. Alex smiled warmly at the young Zephyrian. "That's exactly what I mean, Nora. If it's okay with your mother, of course." All eyes turned to Lyra, who sat in stunned silence for a moment. Then slowly, a smile spread across her face. "Alex," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "you've been part of our family since the day you crashed into our lives. This would just make it official." The joy that filled Alex's heart was unlike anything they had ever experienced. They reached out, taking one of Lyra's hands in their own, while Nira snuggled up between them. "But," Lyra added, her tone turning serious, "are you sure about this? Our cultures are so different, our biology even more so. It won't be easy." Alex nodded, their expression resolute. "I know it won't be easy, but the best things in life rarely are. We've already proven that our differences can be our greatest strength. I'm ready for whatever challenges we might face, as long as we face them together." Nara looked up at them both, her young face wise beyond her years. "Like the bioluminescent song," she said. "Alone, it's just a pretty tune. But together with the plants, it creates something magical." Lyra and Alex exchanged a look of pride and amusement at the child's insight. Out of the mouths of babes, Alex chuckled. The next few days were a flurry of activity as news of Alex's decision spread. There were forms to fill out, cultural rituals to observe, and no small amount of surprised but supportive reactions from both humans and Zephyrians. Vex, in his capacity as community elder, presided over a ceremony that blended human and Zephyrian traditions. As Alex and Lyra exchanged vows under the light of the twin moons, with Nira beaming between them, the gathered crowd bore witness to more than just a union of two individuals. It was a symbol of the bridge their two species had built, a testament to the power of understanding and love to overcome even the vastest of differences. As the ceremony concluded, Alex looked out at the faces of their crew members, now friends, standing side by side with their Zephyrian neighbors. The sight filled them with hope for the future. "You know," Alex said to Lyra as they walked back to their home, Nara skipping ahead of them, "when I first set out on this mission, I never imagined it would end like this." Lyra squeezed their hand with two of hers, her other two arms cradling a bouquet of glowing flowers. "And, my dear Alex, this isn't an ending, it's a beginning." As they reached their dwelling, now expanded to accommodate their growing family and Alex's continued work as a liaison, they paused to look up at the star-filled sky. "You're right," Alex said, a sense of wonder in their voice. "It is a beginning. For us, for our peoples, for the whole galaxy. Who knows what other bridges we might build, what other families might form across the stars." Nara called out to them from the doorway, eager to start their first night as an official family. As Alex and Lyra joined their daughter, they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. In the years that followed, the story of the human who fell from the sky and found a family among the stars would be told and retold. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the vastness of space, love and understanding could flourish in the most unexpected places. And as human and Zephyrian children played together under the light of twin suns, their laughter mingling with the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, the universe seemed just a little bit smaller, a little bit warmer, and full of endless possibilities. The end of one chapter, but the beginning of countless more in the grand cosmic story of connection, discovery, and the enduring power of family, in all its wonderful, unexpected forms.